You are listening to Verb a Minute, where words do remain.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, dearest peas. We are the cultured carrots serving up diversity on a plate. I'm Miranda, and I'll be your host for today. Welcome to the second episode of What the Fuck France, a series inspired by Paul Taylor, questioning the weirdest habits of Frenchies. Too many times have I been asked, what is wrong with French people? Too many times have people been bewildered coming here. Aujourd'hui, or today, as most of you likely say, we shall live the French experience. For our second episode of this segment, we will focus on a very daily habit that French people have, that of la bise. For those of you who wouldn't really know about this, it is the way Frenchies are known to greet people, generally by 2 kisses on the cheeks. It may be strange for people from other places in the world, but it is a very normal thing to do in France. So, first of all, let's talk about the act in itself. La bise is considered to be a regular practice for French people, but foreigners usually tend to see it differently at first. The act can shock people because of how close you find yourself physically to the person you're greeting. It is perceived as something more so intimate and even an invasion of privacy sometimes. It may also be seen as something romantic, so you can see how disturbing and even straight up awkward it can be in certain situations. For instance, being half French and half British myself, it's sometimes very cringy to walk up to someone and give them 2 kisses on the cheeks instead of a hug or a wave. You just stand there awkwardly, attempting to find a topic of conversation to ease off the tension. However, it can also get very weird between French people. The most common way to do la bise is by 2 kisses on the cheeks, but there are variations. In quite a few regions, it can be 3 and even up to 4. About those differences according to the regions, never seen something quite so French. Everyone's doing as it's done in their region, but not really caring about how other people do it. My friend Cam and I were talking about this one day, and she said, as a southerner, every single freaking time I was going somewhere else in France, I started to do la bise, one on the left cheek, then one on the right, and then I would always, but literally always, give my cheek for the third and last kiss. Because that's how we do from where I'm from. But the only thing I was actually kissing was air. You gotta be lonely sometimes with la bise. And in addition to this already really shameful and painful moment, was the weird and judgmental look these Nordists will have. Although la bise is seen as a way of greeting people, sometimes it can be such a habit that you don't even think about the act itself anymore whilst doing it. In high school, for example, we would sometimes have to greet a whole line of people waiting in the corridor for class, one by one, and it would be so repetitive and monotonous, sometimes even kind of boring, when it should genuinely be a nice moment. Now, you understand why French people are always so late? You arrive somewhere and you have to kiss every single person in the room, from Sophie the secretary and her gossiping, to the new intern who doesn't know how to use the coffee machine. What a pain. Finally, we can definitely say that people's general perception of this gesture has changed with COVID. And maybe it won't be such a regular thing to do once this pandemic is over. Maybe all these acts involving closeness and even hugs will be seen a little differently. However, one thing is sure, for some it may not have been such a bad thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, the first time I heard one of my closest friends bless COVID, I thought I was going to send him directly to Antarctica in Macron's jet. But then he explained that it was only for the mere reason of avoiding la bise. Honestly, what is more enjoyable than arriving at a party, late, obviously, being able to say salut tout le monde whilst waving, and directly going to the bar to get a drink before everything and everyone, and being finished at 10 p.m. Except a scrumptious croissant in the morning, I really don't see what else. So that was all for today. Thank you listeners for tuning in. This was brought to you by Cultured Carrots of the Verbaminent podcast. Remember to tune in next Monday for more episodes on cultural exchanges, experiences, and belonging, and for a new episode of our series, Where Are You Really From? Thank you to the writers of this episode, Cam and Miranda, but also to the producers, Maureen and Isabella.